In this week's episode, Sev and I are going to talk about development of big men, how to develop them, what skill sets are important to us, and sort of what we do prototypically if we're working out big men in workouts. Again, we're going to talk about prototypical bigs that play close to the basket, back to the basket, as well as stretch bigs, stretch fives, stretch fours, and just sort of the differences between what skill sets we're going to work with on each. I think it's something that you can learn a lot from as a player or a coach. And again, we value everybody that was sort of, that takes the time to listen and also watch us. Please take the time to subscribe to my YouTube channel to get all not only updates from when we put out new episodes of Seven Sweet Chucks podcast or whatever the hell we're going to call it, but also any content that I put out for the Hoop Consultants. Again, thank you for clicking on our content, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, and God bless. All right, Sev. We got another day in the books here. We haven't been canceled yet, although no one's even seen it yet. So I guess we're doing okay.
Right. 0 for 0.
0 for 0. So we covered point guard, wing, covered young coaches that want to get better and sort of move up in the industry and their craft. Now we're going to cover post play. Since I'm not tall enough to get on Space Mountain yet, and you do a lot with post players. I'd like to sort of talk to you about your favorite things you like to do. So, like, you're going to work with a post player, generic post player comes to you, got to work with them for, like, say, an hour. What's your thought process? What are you thinking?
First, I think it kind of depends on the level of the player as to what you're going to kind of emphasize in the workout. If you're working with, like, high school and college players, they have more traditional actual post-ups than professional players do. Professional players, you're going to change up the workout, I think, to not as much back to the basket like typical low post stuff, because they don't get a lot of those in the course of a game. Mm-hmm. So it kind of depends. Like, say, if you have a high school or a college player who's actually a back to the basket, it's more traditional big, then you're going to spend most of your time probably in that area, as opposed to, the professional big who would be spending a lot of his time in, the short roll, the long roll, pop shooting, all that stuff.
Okay. So, all right. So you get them. What is the first thing you sort of, when you get on a court with say a post player that's not a stretch, like a total stretch player,
right,
more of a skilled around the basket type roller, could step out and shoot a little bit. So you do some, we'll cover obviously some stretch stuff too, but so what are you doing with that player? Comes up to you. What are you starting with?
I think a good warm up for post guys, and they can all use work on catching the ball. Mm-hmm. So, some simple, catching drills, not finishing yet, just, mm-hmm. What I call maybe bad pass catching drills, mm-hmm. where you're throwing passes, up high or down low, and you're pretty close to the person, and you're trying to fire balls at them as quick as you can and have them pass it back, and just work on their hands and being able to catch bad passes, catch good passes. Some of them can't catch good passes.
Some of them can't catch anything.
So I like 2 or 3 just quick minutes of, rapid fire. You're passing the ball and they're having to catch it, chin it, or whatever you want. I like bad passing drills. Maybe throw some pocket passes to them where they got to bend down and catch it. I like that as a warm up, and then 5 minutes at least, like you like to do with the finishing. The mm-hmm. left hand, the right hand finishes, baby hooks, reverse micans, traditional micans, all that stuff to kind of keeping the ball high and keeping it on your chin and finishing. So I like a good 5 minutes to finish around the basket with left hand, right hand. What do you like to do with those?
Well, I'm at your deal. Like, I don't do a lot of the bad passing stuff. Maybe I should do more of that. I figure, Sev, if someone is like really bad with their hands, we're just going to roll with it. And we're going to do some things that are still going to cater to what they do well and work on that a little bit. For me, the hands thing is a little bit, it's very like you could be labor intensive with it, but with very little result. I just think somebody sometimes are born with it. Now, if it's like a 12-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, it's a little different. If I'm getting someone who's like 18, 19, 20, and they have really bad hands, then we're going to work on some things, but I'm not going to really – I've just never seen that big improvement. That's just me. But
It's like being Dominic's jump coach.
Dominic Wilkins is jump coach. Yeah, like you could retire. That guy could retire at the age of 15, after one session, because it's, really not really worth it. But yeah, so like I would do a lot of warm up stuff, mic in, reverse mic in, no backboard mic in, just to sort of get them warmed up. Maybe do some 5-spot shooting after that, like 10, 12 feet, and then there's my warm up. And then I'm into my different things. I don't like to stay early on in my career. I like to stay like on one block for like 15 minutes, every move in the book, and then go to the other side. I think with today's player and players in general, you try to move them around a little bit, spend a couple of minutes on a spot, and then just keep moving,
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're into your warm up now. What are you doing past your warm up, Sev?
Well, I think I like to have guys work on just the jump hook, the catch, and the jump hook with no dribble from different angles.
Okay.
So say you're at the wing and they're right at the dots facing you, and I think it's really important to just be able to catch it, and both sides, right hand low baby hook, left hand baby hook. I like to spend 2 or 3 minutes on that, and then you can have them move into the catch and maybe use a power dribble with the baby hook. So I like to do some of that, and then you can from there you can add the dribble drop. That's from the midline. Mm-hmm. Okay, I like to work on those. And
dribble middle, spin baseline, finish. Yep.
Right. Yeah, I would consider that a dribble drop. Mm-hmm. And then you can go to the actual post up on each side of the blocks and kind of do the same thing. But I'm really big into, the baby hook off the catch, the baby hook off a power dribble, mm-hmm. and then, baby hook off of the dribble drop move.
Yeah. Regardless of if they have a million moves or one move, I think developing your hook around the basket, because even if you're not posting up, you have those duck ins, you have just picking up the ball on a roll, or you might have a situation where you just catch the ball around the basket, inadvertently, and you need to go to something. You're not going to be able to just power up layup all the time. So yeah, I agree. I think developing your hook on both hands, both sides, I think every big man should be able to like catch on the block, one dribble hook and dribble drop at least. I don't care if you're Hakeem Olajuwon or Johnny Olajuwon, you should be able to do, at least that. That should be at least your Mendoza line package right there in the post.
Yeah, it's a simple thing, but you'd be amazed at and having them do it, with maybe a little bit of contact if you have another player helping you, mm-hmm. so they get the feeling of their balance and things. So
okay, so you're in your post up, you've done your warm up. Are you taking them like on the perimeter at all, the elbow at all? Like when would you move out?
Yeah, I anytime during the workout, but I think that getting them to the elbow and being able to, pivot, face, make a one dribble move, rip through a direct drive, a drive and a drop step off that. I think it's really important that they be able to operate from the elbow. Post play, and most coaches right away, what do they think? Low post, mm-hmm. all that
grind
stuff.
It out.
Yeah.
Tough
but
man.
To me, the high post is post play as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's post plays, just, you're from the elbow. So I think guys got, especially now with all the different things they do from the elbow as far as catching it and having the guards doing splits and things like that. And now you having to be able to dribble handoff from the elbow. Yeah. Big guys have to be comfortable from playing at the elbow these days. Mm-hmm. And it's not just trying to score, but it could be as a dribble handoff guy.
Yeah, I definitely. I think at each elbow, like on the wing, we talked about it before. In the perimeter, I like the permanent pivot foot. In the post, not as much. Like even the high post, mm-hmm. I think an inside pivot, being able to inside pivot where you're never turning your back, you're never turning your head from the middle. So you're always opening up, like sort of to the outside. So you always have vision. But being able to like open up shot, open up one dribble the other way because that defender's leaning that way. So opening up crossover layup and that open up one dribble jump shot. I think if you get at least those three, you're in good shape.
And open up and the defender's backed off you just to be able to open up and take a jump shot without dribbling.
Yeah, open up shot, open up dribble the other way and open up one dribble shot. Yeah, for sure. Like I think that you got to be able to do that. Then if you don't have that open, like we'll do drill work where you do those things and then like, okay, it's not open. What are you doing next? So now a player's not a robot. They open up, nothing's there. Then they give it to somebody and they set a pick and roll and then they roll to the rim and now here's your other option,
Right. We call that like a throw and go, or, you got nothing. You're always going to have a guy in the corner. So you can just, dribble handoff to the corner, and roll off of that. So
yeah,
those are important skills for a big guy to have nowadays.
Yeah, and then when you're talking about the role, Sev, I think the impact of the role, obviously it's taken it leaps and bounds the last few years, but, being able to either roll and make a play or at least suck somebody else in where they got to bump you and then it opens up a shot for someone else. So if you want to talk about the role and how important that is, to be able to do, even if you're not a great finisher or whatever.
Yeah, and and Doc calls it rolling with force, and he's really, really a stickler for the big guys in our pick and roll game, and he uses that word over and over again. You got to roll with force, and it's not always going to be for you.
Yeah,
it's going to be you're going to have to suck guys in to open up other guys, so you got to roll with force, and a lot of discussion. Coaches always ask me, well, when you set, I'm a firm believer on you got to set a pick. Yeah. I don't like that leaving early.
No, I don't like slipping out either.
Now, there's a time and a place for slipping out early if you see your big show out hard or whatever. But normally and generally speaking, I like bigs that can make contacts at the proper angle and hold their screen a little bit. The biggest question I get is, after that's happened, which way do you want them to turn? Are you traditional open up or what I call a backside roll?
I don't really care, but what do you –
I don't care. Yeah. I don't know how you feel about that, but I tell our guys, I don't care which way you roll. If you slip it in backside roll, you got to get your head around quick. If you traditional open up, whatever. But make contact on the screen first.
Yeah. I always say you got to give the advantage to the ball handler or the person you set a screen for. The more you can do that, the more times you can get a hit. My thing is there's like three things that could happen. You can get a hit. That defender doesn't want to fight through the screen, so they veer around it on a wide angle, which gives your player the advantage. So that's two positive things you can do. If they go under, there's nothing you can do about it. So that's sort of a positive. And then, they could either fight, they could fight through it. But like you could miss it, which is a negative. Like, I think you need to, like I used to chart my first year, it drove me crazy. So I stopped doing it. But in Dallas, I charted percentages of, did you get a hit? Did you get a veer? Did they go under, which is all positives on the percentage side. And then if you missed, it's a negative. If you just missed the screen or you didn't set it or you purposely didn't get in the way to get them, into the screen. And I think like somebody who could get a hit rate or a veer rate of 75% or more, you're in good shape. Like you got to be able to give the advantage. The more you could screen, because what happens, it's going to force switching. It's going to force cross matching. It's going to force an advantage. If they put two on the ball because that guy gets hit on the screen and your man has to help, then you roll. Then you either get an open layup or somebody's got to bump you, open it up somebody else. So like screening has a huge impact in the game.
Maybe you could talk a little bit because people might not understand when you say veer.
Yeah.
What that means.
All right. So if I'm fighting through a screen and like I get hit, like someone's setting a screen to my left and like I'm coming through, I'm going over it. I'm going nice and tight. Even if I'm getting hit, I'm fighting through it and I'm tight on going around that screen. Now, if I'm going through it and I see the screen coming, I don't want to get clipped or hit. I sort of trail it or go wide on my angle, which I call a veer. Maybe, okay. Me, I'm not Mr. Vocabulary. I can't even spell it. But like if I'm going around wide, which would give the offensive player the advantage now because it's not connected. If they get disconnected but still in the play, that to me is a veer, giving an advantage to the offensive player. I think anything you give an advantage to the offensive player with is a positive when you're screening. Like I said, if you don't screen or you miss, you slip out, I think it's a negative because now that offensive player that's either trying to get open off the pin down or the pick and roll, that like now it's still no advantage and you're wasting time on your shot or game clock. If you could get hits where now it gives your offensive player like that half a step or that step, That's an advantage. Now you're forcing 2 on the ball. You're forcing all this other things. So that's what I mean on a veer. So anytime you get a hit or a veer on that, or he has to go under, I think it's a positive. Unless he's a non-shooter, then it's nothing. But like those 3 things are positives, and just missing the screen, having them, them get through with no hit or veer is a negative to me.
Okay, I just wanted our listeners to understand, because a lot of times when we're talking about pick and roll and coaches hear the term veer, a lot of times they'll think a veer is a switch.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Like in a lot of terminologies, they hear we're going to veer it. That means that's basically a switch.
Terminology?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, coach speak.
Coach speak is veer. To me, it's a switch. But.
You know what I call it? Coachinese.
Yeah, right.
Coachinese.
So that's kind of the next thing. You got to work on, and it's hard in a 1-on-0 workout to work on screening with bigs, obviously.
No doubt.
But
but the result. But you would work on the result, like on the roll. So what's your package, Sev? What are you working out your bigs in the packages of the roll, the pop, the short roll, all that stuff? Like what's your sort of thing that you want to what's your progression on that?
I think the progression for me would be first you start with the short roll or the half roll, whatever you want to call it.
And what is that? Just so they know.
Okay, a short roll is where there's an aggressive coverage on the ball. It could be a hard show, it could be a blitz. Mm-hmm. Okay, and as you're rolling now, you recognize that your defender has impacted the ball and drawn 2 to the ball. So you need to play and recognize that little pocket is available for a quick bounce pass, a pocket pass, or it could be like a little shovel pass. But recognizing the short roll pocket is huge.
Okay.
A lot of times, bigs will set the screen and they'll just, the first thing is I'm rolling to the rim, and you're still rolling to the rim, but right. You've recognized that there's 2 on the ball, and you got to be available to play in that little pocket right there.
So you're getting the ball quicker instead of getting the ball 2-3 steps to the basket. Yeah. You're getting it like a half a step or 1 step off the roll. Okay.
And that's why it's important to get your head around and get your hands. I almost teach it like you're a shortstop. Shortstops would get down into a little stance to get that ground ball.
Yeah.
You're playing right in that pocket with your hands available. Now, if it's a long roll, if there's no pass, from the guard, you're going hard to the rim.
Right.
But you've got to be available for that quick little pocket pass.
Okay. So on the catch, on the short roll, what's your sort of offensive package from the short roll? What are you working on?
First is the read. Mm-hmm. Now, has an offside defender rotated to you or stayed back? Mm-hmm. Okay, so your package would be if they're back. I'm really a firm believer in off that short roll. If the defense is back, okay, and you have 3 or 4 feet, it's a nice hard power dribble into a jump hook.
Okay, so one dribble hook.
One dribble hook. Mm-hmm. Okay, one dribble up and under hook. Mm-hmm. That would be the next thing. So I think very rare is it where you're going to get the short roll and just be able to go in and dunk the ball.
Right.
A bad team maybe will let you do that, but a good team, you're going to probably have a guy rotating to you. That's why I like the power dribble, jump stop off 2, and left hand step throughs, whatever.
Power dribble, and this is on the side roll, right, or a mid roll? Which one?
Mid roll.
Okay, so a mid roll
or an angle. Yeah, either one.
One dribble, jump hook, one dribble up and under. What about like jump shot or floater?
Yeah, and absolutely jump shots, floaters.
Okay.
That's key for bigs now. It used to be guards were the only ones that had floaters.
Sure.
Now those bigs, they come off that short roll, one power dribble, and now the floater.
Steven Adams, Adams is great at that. Anthony Davis.
I tell you who's gotten really good at that on our team is Montrez. He's gotten really good at being able to take that power dribble and then just shoot the floater. Mm-hmm. And then the next skill off of that would have to be, obviously, when you short roll it and there's an aggressive coverage on you, can you drive by the guy quick?
Okay. Yep.
Without traveling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, drive by and finish. Mm-hmm. And then the third skill would be, if you catch it on the short roll and the defense is aggressive there, you read the 2-on-1 on the weak side. It may be a lob. It may be a skip to the corner.
Okay.
So being able to read the rotations, because basically when you catch it, it's a 4-on-3 or a 3-on-2.
For sure.
So can you make the correct pass to the lob to the corner?
Okay, so hook. So you get your hook package first. You get your jump shot floater second. You get your dribble by the guy third, and then
Right.
you get your pass out fourth. Okay, how about the
Yeah.
long roll now?
Yeah, a long roll, it's with force, it's right to the rim, and this is where being able to catch the ball is really important.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's going to be up high. You got to go up and be able to catch a lob.
Right.
So there's not much skill to that.
No.
It's just you roll and you catch the lob. Now, if you don't have the dunk, you obviously have to be able to come down, get on balance, and go.
Do you do
up.
much lobs, Sev, or you just
not really?
Yeah,
I don't.
I don't like to do it just in case someone gets hurt, or it's a lot of pounding on your joints and stuff.
Yeah, I don't do much with the but what I think is really important is if it's a long, hard roll with force and you don't have anything to be able to turn and seal quick.
Yeah. Okay. So roll, finish. You get the lob, but you're not really going to work much on it. Then you get the roll, seal, post up.
Yeah, just seal, right in the key, right at the dots.
Okay.
If you don't have it, it could be a post up on the block.
Yeah.
But the roll, how do you feel about that? The long roll and you don't get it, just sealing?
Yeah, I think you should. I think there's not enough sort of being talked about with what do you do after you roll? A lot of people either roll and seal, roll and go to the dunker and get out in space. Yeah. There's a lot you can do on the roll, but I think talking to players what they do after they roll and don't get it, or maybe they roll and then the pass is made on the other side. So they're rolling and then setting a screen on the other side. I mean, it depends on what you want to do.
And that's something that's since we've gone to so much pick and roll in the last 10 years, something that's really important is, can a big set continuous pick and rolls? Can he set one, roll with force to the rim? He doesn't get it, sprint back out and set another one. I mean, bigs at our level have to be able to set 2, maybe 3 on a possession. Mm-hmm. But it takes a lot of energy, man. But sometimes that's what's called for.
Okay, so we've talked about the finishing. We've talked about the post up, the hook stuff, the dribble drop. Talked about high post play. We talked about screen and roll. How about the pop, the spacing now? What are you working on with players with that?
As the ball handler, say you're setting a mid pick and roll and the ball handler comes off and you're a pop shooter. Yep. I think it's really important to not go so far on your pop that it makes it an easy stunt from, say, the guy in the corner.
Right.
You got to understand the spacing on your pop. Mm-hmm. You want to pop to about 12 to 15 feet from the ball handler, because if you pop too far away, then now the spacing is screwed up with the corner guy, and it's an easy stunt 2-on-1.
Right.
So I think the first thing they need to understand is where they're setting it and where the proper location is when they pop, mm-hmm. relative to where the other guys are on the court.
Right. So, would you pop to 3 in high school and college, or would you mostly pop to 15, 17 feet?
What's sweet to me, it all depends on their ability.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, on the pop, so you get the catch and shoot. Do you work a lot on the catch and drive?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, because I think it's a lot of times we see that as they catch it on the pop, it's a big rotating to them.
Yep.
Or closing out. And bigs, for the most part, have a hard time closing out and be able to contain the dribble.
Right.
So I think I'm really big on, shoot it or drive it.
Right.
Or move it on and get another pick and roll. But I think catching it and be able to drive it both ways is important.
Yeah, I agree. I'm even big on on the mid, set it, catch it. That corner guy comes up to the wing area or so you pitch it to him, and then they set the pick and pop, and then you shoot that shot in the corner. So exactly. You go from catching the wing, catching the top area, not there. That corner guy pulls up a little bit, you hit them, and then they come off another one. I think continuation is good. Again, if you're just working on the one robotic skill of whatever you're doing, and not what's the continuity on the next thing, I think trying to teach the players that, or even dribble handoff or whatever, Try not
Right.
to do anything that's multiple action.
Yeah. You know, and obviously if you have 3-point range, you know, like you pop into 3.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to the first thing is understanding the spacing, and so you're not screwing up somebody else's spacing as you pop.
Right. Right.
And I'll always pop, you know, ready to shoot.
Yep.
You know, catch it, either drive it or shoot it, drive it, or go to the next action, whether it's a pass and follow, pick and roll, or a dribble handoff.
Yeah. And proper footwork
Yeah.
with, again, a corner is a little messed up, but if you're on the perimeter on a step up or a mid, being able to catch, trying to get to a 1-2 step on your catch. So now when you drive or do whatever, your back foot's down, your front foot's live, and you're ready to operate.
Yep.
Okay, so what about so we covered some of that. How about transition? For you know, for non-spacers and trailmen, I say let's start with the big, you know, the real big, close to the basket guys. What are you working on with them in transition?
You know, being able to set 2 types of screen in transition. Well, first of all, you know, depending on what your coach wants you to. It seems to me, most high school and college coaches will teach their bigs to rim run. That's a big deal. Yeah, you're going to rim run and seal and all that, and if you don't get it, then get out opposite. Right. We're seeing more in the NBA now, fewer rim runs and more step-ups in transition, and actually, you know, trailing the play and stopping at the top of the key for a 5-out look, or going right to a drag screen.
Right.
I think we see fewer and fewer rim runs with our guys. It's either they're going to run to a step up, get below the ball and step up, or they're going to come right to a drag screen, or they're just going to actually stop at the top as a trailer. You know, like Dallas, we used to do Porzingis. He'll stop at the top. You know, they'll hit him. Now he's got the ball at the top, and they're going into whatever kind of action they're going into.
Right. So for like a high school guy or a college guy, probably like run to the rim first, work on that. Then you could work on your rim run to a step up, like a small little rim run to a step up. And then you could set that drag roll and your action out of that. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. The rim runs, you know, if you have the advantage, obviously, you know, you want to go, but especially if there's a guard down there or whatever. But for the most part, it's you don't see very many just rim runs and turn and seal, and you know, it's keeping the floor open.
I'm surprised at that sometimes. Like I know, and again, I know the game sort of changes, but in 2008, what the Celtics were so good at, sprinting Garnett and Allen down, Ray Allen in transition. Ray would be going to the corner or so, and he'd be rim run, and then Garnett would be rim running. He'd run so fast that he'd always beat his man down, and then Ray's guy would have to rotate off of him, which would happen with he won't even get the ball, but now Ray's wide open in the corner because his man had to rotate and cross match to Garnett and not giving up the layup. But you know, you do see a lot of like at least in the high school and college level, you could have a lot of big impact if you could run. But I mean, you're right, keeping the floor spaced and open, being able to step up or drag or just get to the top would be good.
One of the things we did with DJ is that kind of the rule was, you know, he would run hard down the middle of the court, but if he didn't get the ball by like the top of the circle, the top of the key, okay, he would just turn and set a step up on either whatever side the ball was on.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and now it keeps everything open, and then the opposite big would then trail in the slot on the other side, and you have a nice open floor.
So drill-wise, you're working on like what are you working on? Them starting in half court, sprinting down a little bit, setting that step up and rolling?
Yeah. Setting the step up and rolling, setting the drag screen and rolling. You know, setting the if they do have a rim run available, setting it and then getting out to the dunker. And I think another skill that we have to work on with our bigs is how do they play out of penetration?
Yeah, without the ball.
Yeah, without the ball, where do you go on a penetrating baseline or a penetrating middle, and getting them to understand where to go and have their hands ready for quick catch and finishes?
Well, I think it depends. Like, it's funny, when I went to Gerg's camp, you know, a few years back, I was a big fan of the big posting up ball side, and then on the penetration baseline, they'd come up to the like
Right.
not elbow, but sort of like going towards the elbow, and they're catching it in either one dribble hook or whatever, like in that going towards the elbow area. And then if it's a middle penetration, going to the short corner ball side. But in Gerg's camp, I remember they were like, coaches are looking at me like, you know, I had 10 heads. They would want them not even to post up because they were getting away from it. They want them to go to the dunker on the weak side, of basically short corner weak. And then if you go on, if you went baseline, they're coming middle. And if you're going middle, they're going sort of around to the other side. You know, so
yeah, that's a concept of all that dribble drive stuff that that's kind of become popular the last 10 or 15 years. So
I remember you guys.
That's important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember you guys in Chicago. Did you have Boozer and Noah together?
Not when I was there. We
did you have Noah? You had another big though. You weren't stretching back then.
Brad Miller. Miller and Taj.
Would you like duck in from the weak side?
Yeah.
Like roll replace. It wasn't like space big. Yeah, so like the duck-ins.
It was more of a roll replace. So, and I think duck-ins is something that you have to cover too with guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Okay, what about transition, Sev, on like stretch fours, if you're working with a stretch four?
Catch and shoot transition from the three.
Yeah, from the top?
Top and slot.
Okay.
I think that's important to be able to, you know, have them getting into their footwork with good rhythm for a catch and shoot. If they're a stretch four and they can really shoot, right. A lot of times their guy may be back 4 or 5 feet in transition. So you have the opportunity for a nice catch and shoot. So I think that's good. And also in transition, catch and go. You know, I've caught it in transition at the top. The guy's running at me, and I'm just going by him. Because remember, we said earlier, most big guys have a tough time closing out and guarding the dribble.
So catch and shoot, catch and drive.
Right.
And then what about the catch and reverse? And then
catch, reverse, follow, pick and roll, catch, dribble, handoff. You know, all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So all right, we covered that. Obviously shooting a lot of threes with the bigs at the pro level or even international level. You would spend what, five spots shooting just to get the reps up?
Yeah, and maybe even 7.
Mm-hmm.
You know, going to 7 spots for 3-point shooting for the bigs.
What? How about facing up in the post? We covered a little back to the basket, but what about face ups? What's your package of things you like to do with that?
Yeah, face up and kind of like we talked about with the wings the other day, but I like the bigs to be able to face up, get to the middle hook, face up, you know, maybe give them a jab baseline and then get to the middle. Mm-hmm. I think dribble drops on your face up are good. Being able to catch it face up, drive it, and dribble drop back.
Right.
And then the simple catch, face, jab, step, 15-foot jump shot.
Yeah.
And I'm almost every workout I do with a big guy, if they're working on mid-post face-up jump shots, I really like to emphasize the bank shot on that angle.
Yeah.
You know, we had, Blake became a very good bank shooter from that 15 to 18-foot area on the mid-post face-up, especially on the left side. He wouldn't do it as much on the right, but I'm a big believer in mixing in some bank shooting from that angle.
Yeah, I think even on your warm-ups, it's important to get to have them know that high and soft little bank shot. Yeah, I think you could really do a lot of that Tim Duncan deal. Like I like to face up, baseline, different feet on both sides, open up to the baseline, little bank shot. Open up to the baseline, one dribble, run and hook, and then the open up baseline, one dribble, middle, dribble, drop. And then like you said, that face-up jump shot, that face-up jab off the glass, and then the spin move. You don't have to do all those things, but I think if you're like a moderate, decent post player, you should probably have like a dribble hook, dribble drop, some type of a face-up package, and been able to spin move baseline. I think okay, because it gives you sort of an element of all, and then something from the high post, like we talked about from the elbow area. Yeah, I think those things are important. How about defensively, Seth?
Being able these days to guard a switch and keep the ball in front laterally is becoming very valuable because there's so much switching that's going on. keeping you out of rotations. So defensively, obviously you have to work on post defense and being physical with good technique and pushing catch out and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the low post guy catches the ball, you have to be able to take away the middle and try to force the turnaround jump shot. But switching is becoming huge. So if you have the ability in your workout to have a big guard or a little guard, if you have a little guard that's available, just having them guard guys on the perimeter.
You see so much switching going on, and it's a big problem. So, being able to play one-on-one against a point guard, if you can, I think that's important. Trying to keep them fun.
And you're not going to be – they're going to get to the rim.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be able to affect their shot.
Yeah.
Might not block it.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to affect it to where you're forcing them into a tough finish. Those bigs that can move their feet and keep the ball in front and affect shots at the rim are really valuable.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say trying to keep in your stance and not leave your feet on the perimeter as much as you can. I mean, any position really, but you see a lot of bigs making fools of themselves in the perimeter when they go for that little fake instead of just contesting, or like you like to say, be second off the floor.
Second,
for sure. But, passing out of the post becomes an issue too, like being able to pass out of double teams, pass out of rolls, pass out of the high post. What other things passing-wise? High-low, I guess.
Yeah, high-low passing. Believe it or not, it sounds like a simple thing, but outlet passing.
No doubt.
To the guards. I see so many bigs turn the ball over by making bad decisions or bad executions on their outlet passes.
Yeah.
So I like to have the guy just do simple. They toss it off the board, they catch it, they outside pivot, and they read where the point guard is. Does he have his back to the sideline, or is he making a banana cut and heading up the court?
Yeah.
They got to be able to get that ball out without turning it over.
I agree with that. Shooting range mostly for bigs. Forget about the NBA level. I'm just talking about like high school, college. Where should they sort of be comfortable shooting the ball from in an average distance? I know it differs by player, but if you're talking about a center, like a back to the basket.
I think 12 feet to 15 feet.
Yeah.
What do you think on that?
12 to 15 is good. And I think, it's funny when I was in Dallas, I keep saying it. My favorite part of an NBA game is the pregame. I can barely watch the games, but the pregame I love. And I remember when I just got to Dallas and Brook Lopez was on Brooklyn, and we went there. We played him twice, but when we were in Brooklyn, we played him once. And he started like he was one of the best low post scorers in the league, and he was shooting corner threes. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like I never see him shooting threes, but okay. But they would sprinkle it in like the end of his workout. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then I saw him like the next year, and he was shooting corner threes, but then he was sort of doing some, little like baby steps, moving like respacing from like the short, not even short corner, but like 3 steps from inside the 3 to the 3, and then 3 steps from like the nipple on the court, like that little dent to the corner. So just like working on moving a little bit. I'm like, oh, that's wow. Then the next year it's like full transition, catch and shoot, pick and pop 3. And that's like half of his workout with 3-point shots. And then you saw the progression in his game from year to year as far as shooting threes in real games. And now you see him doing it a lot. But I think –
and people forget – using his as an example, his first 4 or 5 years in the league, he was a low post back to the basket scorer.
Yeah.
That was his game.
But I think
now his game is to shoot 8 3-pointers a game.
But I think that and he calls it Splash Mountain, by the way. He does.
Now he's got his brother shooting him.
I love those two. No, he does the Splash Mountain, and Robin shoots him, and he does like that dipping the tea bag in the tea.
Yeah.
I love if I could adopt the Lopez twins, I'd do it in a second. I love those guys, man. But like the range, you're right, 12 to 15 feet. But I would shoot corner threes even if they couldn't shoot them, because I think even if you sprinkle them in and get them comfortable, at least shooting it from back there, I think it's going to impact their 12-foot shot by, depth, by being able to shoot a little bit outside. And then I think because you got to shoot with distance, And now 12 to 15 looks a little easier to them, you know, after shooting a 19-foot shot for 20 reps or so. I mean, just sprinkle it in, but I think 12 to 15 is good. If you can get them past the 3, great. But 12 to 15 feet to at least keep defenses sort of, you know, defenses sort of keep them honest, you know, defending you. All right, Sev.
Okay.
We're almost out of time. What do you got? Anything else that we missed?
Well, we could talk about post play forever, but that's kind of the basics right there.
Yeah, I agree. Screening's so important. Oh, well, rebounding too, like boxing out, being able to box your man out defensively and be able to secure rebounds. A stat that I like to keep is how many minutes it takes to get a guy a rebound. Like not rebounds per minute, but like
how many minutes does it take him to get 1 rebound?
Yeah, so your rebounds divided by your minutes.
Yeah, and really a good big guy should be, you know, 1 rebound for every 3 minutes that he plays.
Yeah, that would be a huge impact in the game. Yeah. I say 3 to 4 for sure. Yeah. I'm sorry, it's your minutes divided by your rebounds. That's it. It's not the other way around. The other way is rebounds per minute, more on than I am.
Yeah.
And then offensive rebounding, just trying, like what I see, like out of really good rebounders, Seb, offensive rebounders, like I watch like Rodman and watch a lot of these other guys that play that are really elite rebounders. They box out on the offensive glass. Like they try to get, like they're on offense, shot goes up. Instead of just trying to get in there, they get on the inside and box the man out. You know,
it's what we call a reverse box out.
Yeah.
That's coach speak.
Coach Anise. Coach Anise. Yeah, Coach Anise. But yeah, and then play one-on-one, like rebounding, and then play one-on-one. I think one-on-one in the post, one-on-one on the perimeter against point guards. Those things are important. And, you know, I think one thing, like with Dwight Powell, a young big back then, we had Zaza Pachulia before he went on to play in Golden State. He would play one-on-one with him in the post and teach him about hands and showing your hands and proper technique. And, you know, they play one-on-one, but it was a teaching session. Like, you know, when you called fouls, you taught when they made a mistake. Those things I think are important.
You got it.
How about you, Sev? Anything else?
No, I think that's it. And, you know, big guys, you know, they have to have a different mentality than everybody else.
No question.
And
no question.
Just because you're shorter doesn't mean you can't play bigger.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen 7-foot guys play like they're 6'3", and I've seen 6'3" guys that can play like they're 6'10".
I agree with that.
It's just how tough are you? How big do you want to spread out? And, you know, height really has nothing to do with being an effective big guy.
No.
It has some, especially the higher up you go, but I've seen great post players in high school that are 6'2", 6'3", 6'1".
And you could have impact in the post doing different things. Like you can be just somebody who could pass well out of the post and play good defense. You could be that post scorer. You could be that stretch big. You could be a big that just sets screens. I think that any position, you have to find a way to impact the game. And, you know, it doesn't have to be always having the ball in your hands and scoring. It could be other ways. But even if you're a good screener and a good screener and you could rebound, you could play on the floor. If you could pass out of the post, if you know, obviously if you could score, it's great. But I think there's so many ways to impact the game as a big, especially in today's game where they don't post up as much. You could set good screens. You could do a bunch of other things to impact the game. Cool. Well, I think we solved the world's problems in basketball today. I got about 9,000 calories calling my name on my lunch today. So, you know, we'll go from there.
All right, Sweets. Until next time.
Copernicus once said, I'll talk to you later, bud.
See ya.
Later.